What happens when you look your best friend right in the eye, stroke her hair, and softly tell her she deserves the utmost respect, all while you are actively plotting to steal the exact guy she's literally crying over?
Oh, the absolute psychological warfare of it all. It is so dark.
It is. Welcome back to the Snark Side, babes. The Snark Squad is officially in session, and if you are new here, hi. Go grab a drink, get comfortable, and prepare for a masterclass in covert betrayal.
Truly. And if you are a returning listener, you already know the exact chaotic, aggressively hydrated pettiness we are bringing to the mics today.
Exactly. We are navigating a biological state where hot summer chaos meets an absolute emotional reckoning. I mean, we are talking messy hookups. We are talking the classic, I am completely fine, but I am actually rotting from the inside out energy.
It's a lot to process, bestie. Take a breath, because the specific psychological state we are in right now is, like, paramount to what we are about to unpack.
So true.
But before we even get into the timeline, before we map out the absolute garbage fire that was this week in the Hamptons, we need to pause. We need to issue a formal, very serious PSA.
Thank you. Yes. Ciara, listen to me, babes. We know the Bravo girlies lurk online, so if this reaches your ears, hear this loud and clear.
Hear it.
We do not care what anyone on the internet says. We literally do not want to hear a single dissenting opinion. We are blocking out the noise. You were done dirty by West, period. End of sentence.
Done so dirty, it's the sheer audacity for me.
I am so emotionally heated about this that my hands were actually shaking while we were reviewing our notes this morning. Like, she gave this man vulnerability, she gave him incredibly clear boundaries, and he stomped all over them in a pair of dirty vintage sneakers, honestly.
Seriously, those sneakers need to go.
Yeah.
But if we strip away the emotion for a second,
right,
and we look at it strictly analytically, the timeline of his disrespect is genuinely staggering.
Walk us through it, because people forget.
Right, so let's map it out for anyone who might have missed the subtleties. He forms a connection with her. He explicitly states he wants to sleep with her. She sets a boundary.
Which, by the way, is simply that she only sleeps with people she is in a committed relationship with. That is a completely normal boundary.
Exactly, a baseline, healthy boundary. But instead of respecting that, he talks to his male friends in the house like he's somehow, I don't know, entitled to her physically.
Ugh, the entitlement is gross.
Right. And then he takes her home to meet his parents, to artificially manufacture this false sense of intimacy, gets exactly what he wants, and then immediately runs to the press to tell the world it wasn't that serious.
Oh my God, when he did that press tour, I wanted to scream.
And after all of that calculated maneuvering, he has the nerve to play the victim. So, Ciara, if you ever want to come on this pod and discuss the mechanics of this betrayal, babes, we are here for you.
The door is wide open. The security clearance is granted. We have drinks waiting.
The mics are hot. The oversized glasses of lemon water are poured. You have an open invitation.
Honestly, speaking of the emotional toll of dealing with people like that, we have a confession for the Snark Squad. Because before we hit record today, we were pacing around the kitchen, and we just started completely spiraling.
A full spiral.
About this whole concept of hitting rock bottom. Watching Wes drag the entire energy of that house down to his subterranean level triggered something in us.
It really did.
Mm-hmm.
It got us thinking about our own moments of just, foundational collapse. Can we talk about this for a second?
Yeah.
I feel like we need to clear the air.
We absolutely have to. Because, babes, you cannot accurately analyze reality television trauma without first acknowledging and dissecting your own.
It is the unspoken rule of the Snark side.
Yeah.
You have to know what the basement looks like to recognize when someone else is currently living in it.
Exactly. Okay, so I was really thinking about this, and my rock bottom, it was right after dental school. I know I bring up the dental school era all the time, but it was a genuinely dark period of my life.
Oh, the dental school trauma is so real.
It was. I was so fundamentally burnt out, just completely emotionally bankrupt. I vividly remember sitting in my car. It was this tragic, beat-up Honda Civic in the parking lot of a massive grocery store.
Wait, which grocery store?
Oh, just some giant fluorescent nightmare. It was a Tuesday, maybe 11 p.m., and it was pouring rain because, of course, the universe demands pathetic fallacy when you are suffering.
Obviously. The rain is a paid actor at that point.
Right. The windows were totally fogged up, and I was eating a lukewarm, foil-wrapped bean and cheese burrito that I had actually dropped on the passenger side floor mat.
Stop. Not the floor mat burrito. Bestie, the desperation is palpable.
I wiped it off, mostly. But I just sat there in the driver's seat and started sobbing, like full body, ugly crying, hyperventilating heaves.
Oh, babes.
I just felt so totally lost in the universe, you know? I had spent years doing everything right, checking all the societal boxes, passed the boards, got the degree, and I just felt completely devastatingly hollow.
I get that. That hollow feeling is terrifying.
I remember looking at a stray piece of shredded lettuce stuck to my steering wheel and thinking, like, is this it? Is this the absolute peak of my human experience?
Oh, the shredded lettuce is taking me out.
It was so chaotic, so pathetic, and just deeply existentially sad. I was entirely untethered.
See, that is highly cinematic. Mine was far less crying in a Honda Civic in the rain and much more silent, existential rotting in an enclosed space.
Oh, the rotting era. We've all been there.
Right. I think my definitive rock bottom hit when I realized I was actively, consciously self-sabotaging my own life just to feel some sort of texture. It was also a Tuesday, weirdly enough.
Tuesdays are cursed, honestly.
They really are. But it was around 3 a.m. I was living in this shoebox apartment that got zero natural light. It was essentially a sensory deprivation tank with a lease agreement.
The sensory deprivation tank. Oh, my God.
I am not kidding. I had been awake for maybe 48 straight hours, binge-watching vintage seasons of reality television, trying to surgically numb out at the fact that my career was completely stalling.
Wait, 48 hours?
Easily. And my romantic relationship at the time was a confirmed dead end. I was just, avoiding reality.
Oh, I know that specific brand of 3 a.m. insomnia. It is haunting.
It really is. I remember pausing the television on some screaming match and just looking at the reflection of my own face in the dark black screen.
Oh no, the black screen reflection.
Yes. The glow was gone, and I was just surrounded by a graveyard of empty takeout containers. And I just sarcastically thought to myself, wow, you really built a glorious empire here, didn't you?
Oh, babes. That is so brutal.
It wasn't a tearful breakdown. It was this cold, clinical realization that I wasn't the misunderstood protagonist of my life. I was actively playing the villain. I was the one destroying my own peace.
The reflection in the black screen is the ultimate modern-day jump scare. Looking at your own dead eyes while a real housewife is frozen mid-yell on the screen behind you.
It humbles you real quick.
But you know what? We survived those moments. We clawed our way out of the foggy Honda Civics and the lightless apartments.
We did. We really did.
And more importantly, the primary reason we survived is because of our sheer resilience and also carbohydrates.
Oh, absolutely, the carbohydrates.
We desperately need to pivot the energy, Snark Squad, because right before we sat down to record, we inhaled the most ungodly, excessive amount of creamy Tuscan salmon stuffed shells.
It was a religious out-of-body experience. I am currently in low-grade physical pain from how aggressively full I am.
Same, but I am still thinking about it.
Right. My brain is actively trying to negotiate a psychological loophole to go back to the kitchen and eat just one more shell.
Do it. I support you.
The structural integrity of the pasta, the way the heavy cream emulsified with the sun-dried tomatoes, the way the salmon just delicately flaked into the ricotta cheese, it was pure culinary chaos.
We were eating with such terrifying speed, I think we temporarily transcended space and time. Like, I literally had to wipe cream sauce off my microphone cord before we started.
We were feral. Just absolutely feral for those shells.
But it was so incredibly worth it. And honestly, sitting there eating that, it brought my brain right back to Italy.
Oh, here we go. The Italy era.
Snark Squad. I don't know if I've ever fully fleshed out this story, but after that rock-bottom, floor-mat burrito dental school era, I literally ran away from my life. I moved to Italy for a bit just to aggressively reset my brain chemistry.
As one does. Very eat, pray, love of you.
Totally. And let me establish a very clear caveat right now. The stuffed shells we just consumed, absolutely, unequivocally not authentic Italian food.
Oh, if a traditional Italian nonna witnessed what we just did with heavy whipping cream, farm-raised salmon, and a box of jumbo shells, she would place an ancient curse on your entire bloodline.
She would have excommunicated me from the country. It was highly Americanized indulgent.
It really was.
But anyway, when I was in Italy, I was really trying to lean into this specific aesthetic. Picture this, babes. I am in Florence. I am trying to embody this mysterious, deeply healed woman wandering the globe.
I can picture the flowy linen pants now.
Exactly. So I get completely, hopelessly lost on these winding cobblestone streets away from all the tourist traps. My phone is dead. The sun is setting.
Sounds incredibly romantic until you realize you have no Google Maps.
Right. And I stumble into this tiny, hole-in-the-wall trattoria that literally doesn't even have a printed menu. I barely speak conversational Italian, but I want to seem cultured. So I confidently order what I translate in my head to be a rustic braised chicken dish.
Oh, no. I can already feel the secondhand embarrassment building.
Yeah.
What did you actually order?
It gets so much worse. I am sitting there sipping house wine, feeling incredibly sophisticated. The waiter comes out, beaming with immense cultural pride, and sets down a steaming, fragrant earthenware bowl of tripe.
No.
Yes. Cow stomach lining.
Please stop.
Okay.
The visual texture alone would send my central nervous system into orbit. Did it look like a sea sponge?
It looked exactly like a damp braised towel. I was internally horrified.
A braised towel. I'm gagging.
But the waiter is standing right there just radiating joy, waiting for me to taste his family recipe. So I just smile, give a very tight nod, and force down a massive bite of bovine stomach lining while desperately trying to maintain my mysterious cosmopolitan aura.
The dedication to the bit is astounding. How long did you chew?
I chewed for what felt like 4 consecutive minutes. It was endless. But, later that same week, I had a completely random meal in a tiny village outside the city.
Hopefully not organ meat this time.
No, just hand-rolled fresh pasta, local olive oil, and crushed garlic. And the simplicity of it literally rewired my neural pathways. It changed the trajectory of my life.
Food is so deeply emotional. It anchors us.
It does, which is exactly why I think we unconsciously needed to make those incredibly heavy stuffed shells today. We needed to forge an armor of complex carbohydrates to deal with the absolute psychological warfare we are about to discuss regarding this week's Bravo foolishness.
The biological armor is successfully secured. And for anyone watching the video feed, yes, the visuals are accurate. The oversized, absurdly large glasses of lemon water are back in hand.
Clean.
We are aggressively hydrated. We are highly reflective, we are fully carb-loaded, and we are operating at peak pettiness.
Peak pettiness.
This is the exact finely tuned state of being required to accurately process the absolute mess that occurred in the Hamptons this week. So let's plunge into the recap, because episode 12 is essentially a 35-minute uninterrupted descent into interpersonal madness.
Yes. Let's start right at the scene of the crime, which is the bedroom. The episode opens almost immediately on Ciara crying in her bed.
Which, as a quick side note, was shockingly pristine for Ciara.
Right. Usually that specific bedroom looks like an explosive device went off inside a Sephora distribution center. There are clothes and makeup everywhere, but today, the bed was perfectly made, the lighting was soft.
She set the stage for her own emotional breakdown.
She really did. She is lying there, emotionally shattered, crying to Mia and Amanda about the fact that Wes just spent the evening making out with Emmy Nader right in front of her face.
Just foul behavior.
And then the door creeps open, and in walks West. He approaches the bed to apologize for being a shitty friend. And Ciara, bless her profoundly tired heart, sets a firm, undeniable boundary.
Which she rarely does with him.
I know. She looks him dead in the face and says, "It's best if we're not friends."
And this specific moment, bestie, is where my analytical brain just starts flashing red, catastrophic warning lights.
Why? Tell me what you saw.
Because if you want to understand the mechanics of a reality television manipulator, you have to listen to the specific calculated words Wes uses, especially when he gets into his solo confessional chair later.
Oh, the confessional. I was taking notes.
He literally tells the audience that his main objective is not to upset Ciara. He explicitly states that he feels personally dumbed, that he hates the awkwardness of the house dynamic, and he hopes he didn't fuck up whatever was built. Do you notice the glaring omission in that entire soliloquy?
Yes. Empathy.
Yeah.
There is no actual genuine care for her internal emotional state or the pain he caused.
Exactly. He doesn't actually care about hurting her. He only cares that she is mad at him because her anger creates an uncomfortable environment for him.
That is so selfish.
For those who study the sociology of reality television, he is flawlessly channeling what scholars of the genre call the Tom Schwartz archetype.
Oh, break that down for the people who might not watch Vanderpump Rules. What is the Schwartz archetype?
The Tom Schwartz archetype is a very specific, highly dangerous breed of man. It is the guy who weaponizes a goofy golden retriever, aw shucks, I'm just a guy, persona to get away with absolute emotional terrorism.
Wow, that is spot on.
He uses his own supposed incompetence and boyish charm as a shield. But fundamentally, underneath the floppy hair and the self-deprecating jokes, he views women as completely dispensable commodities.
Completely dispensable.
The only reason Wes is visibly upset in this episode is because his carefully curated image as the nice, fun guy of the share house is being actively threatened by Ciara's entirely justified boundary. He realizes the audience might turn on him.
That is so incredibly accurate. It makes so much sense when you frame it like that. He acts like he is forced to walk on eggshells because Ciara is supposedly this angry, overly sensitive, unreasonable woman.
Which she isn't. She is just holding him accountable.
Exactly. He is actively spinning a false narrative in real time. He literally locked lips with another girl less than 36 inches away from her after spending the entire summer acting like they were building this deeply intimate, exclusive emotional connection.
In front of everyone.
Right. And now he's walking around the house acting like he is the primary victim of her reaction. It makes me want to scream into a pillow.
I know, it is infuriating.
She isn't asking for the moon, babes. She just wants basic, fundamental human decency.
It is maddening. But then, while Ciara is laying there broken, we get the moment that actually made my blood run entirely cold.
Oh, no. I know what you're going to say.
The moment that requires a dive into covert psychology, Amanda's speech.
Oh, my God. I cannot. Do not even get me started on this scene. I paced the room.
We have to unpack it. Amanda sits on the edge of the bed. She looks Ciara dead in the eyes, gently strokes her hair like a benevolent older sister, and softly says, I see you. You are so loved. You are so important, and you deserve so much more respect than what you get.
It makes my skin crawl.
Now, if we look at this scene in isolation, it's a beautiful moment of female solidarity. But knowing what we know now, knowing the off-camera rumors, the timeline discrepancies, the alleged overlap that occurs later, that speech isn't supportive. It is a textbook example of covert betrayal.
Explain covert betrayal, because that phrase perfectly captures how foul this felt.
Covert betrayal happens when the betrayer uses overly affirming, deeply empathetic language toward their victim to overcompensate for their own internal guilt.
Whoa.
Amanda knows she is harboring a secret attraction to West. She knows, or at least heavily suspects, that she's going to act on it eventually.
She definitely knew.
Right. So by looking Ciara in the eye and acting as her fierce protector, Amanda is trying to alleviate her own cognitive dissonance. She is trying to convince herself that she is a good person and a loyal friend, even while she is laying the groundwork to decimate that friendship.
That is so dark.
It is diabolical. It is absolute supervillain behavior masquerading as therapy speak.
It was so sinister. I went absolutely feral watching that play out. To sit there, playing the role of the wise, protective best friend, knowing exactly the kind of emotional devastation you are either currently engaging in behind her back or actively plotting to engage in.
It's chilling.
It really is. And then the Bravo editors, who, let's be honest, deserve Emmy Awards for their forensic storytelling this season, immediately hard cut to that dog adoption charity event back in the city.
Ah, yes, the charity event. The classic reality TV trope where a cast member tries to launder their tarnished reputation by standing next to rescue puppies.
Puppies solve everything, obviously.
Wes is hosting this event, clearly trying to secure his good guy edit. Kyle and Amanda show up. Amanda immediately pulls West aside to essentially scold him for his behavior in the Hamptons.
Such a performance.
Totally. She tells him that it upsets her because he's been such a good friend to her, and seeing him actively disrespect Ciara creates a weird dynamic for her to navigate. But Bessie, did you catch the specific cinematography of that scene?
How could anyone miss it? The zoom, the slow, lingering, incredibly deliberate camera zoom on West, kissing Amanda on the cheek as they say hello.
The editors were practically screaming at the audience through the television. Her eyes literally melted into his shoulder.
They did. It was so intense.
It was not a casual, platonic hello friend cheek kiss. There was an undeniable, crackling electric charge there. It was highly intimate.
Highly.
And when you analyze that scene sociologically, you have to wonder about the concept of plausible deniability. Was Amanda publicly scolding him at a charity event because she actually cared about Ciara's feelings? Or was she doing preemptive PR cleanup for her own image?
Oh, it was 100% PR cleanup.
It felt incredibly calculated, like, oh, I have to make sure the cameras capture me telling him his behavior is wrong. That way, when we inevitably get together next season, I can point back to this footage and say, look, I was initially against it. I tried to defend Ciara. It just happened organically.
She is attempting to play four-dimensional chess, but she is playing it very poorly because the audience can see right through the board. It is just so dark.
Very poor gameplay.
But amidst all this heavy manipulation and tactical plotting, we actually did get a moment in this episode that made me physically stop in my tracks. A genuinely rare moment of reality TV grace that pierced through the garbage.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The visit to the psychic medium.
Yes. Tiffany from Costa Rica, who, remarkably, spells her name normally and doesn't add an I at the end to seem mystical.
A rare sign of credibility in the Bravo universe.
Right. I usually roll my eyes so hard at Bravo psychics. Historically, they are just local scam artists hired by production to tell a housewife that her husband is having an affair, purely to stir up artificial plot lines.
Yeah, the classic, he will never fulfill you emotionally, know that scene.
Exactly. It is almost always cheap and exploitative. But this scene, Mia, Ciara, and Mia's brother Nick drive out to visit this medium, and I am not exaggerating when I say I completely broke down. I sobbed real heavy tears.
I was tearing up too. It carried an incredible amount of emotional weight.
It really did.
For context, Mia and Nick lost their mother very suddenly, and Mia has been visibly carrying this immense, crushing guilt all season about not being able to say a proper goodbye. The grief is just sitting on her chest.
You can physically see it on her.
And the second they sit down in Tiffany's living room, Tiffany connects with their grandmother and then immediately pivots to their mother. She looks right at Mia and tells her that her mom can breathe okay now and that she's happy.
That broke me.
And then comes the absolute kicker. Mia had this long-standing life plan with her mother. The plan was that her mom would eventually move to New York to help raise Mia's future children.
Right, she had mentioned that before.
And Tiffany, without knowing any of this, looks at her calmly and says, "Don't worry about the plan. You'll have a baby girl. The plans are still on."
It completely broke me because you could physically see the exact moment the suffocating weight lifted off Mia's shoulders, the tension just left her jaw.
It was visceral.
It was a moment of profound, real healing captured on a network usually known for flipped tables and thrown wine glasses. And what I truly loved about that scene, just to perfectly balance out the heavy, weeping emotion, was Nick's reaction.
Oh, Nick was iconic.
Nick is sitting there, hearing these profound, life-altering spiritual truths delivered from beyond the veil, and he just deadpans to the room, "I need a cocktail."
It was so perfect. Nick is functioning as the ultimate audience surrogate in that moment. We all collectively needed a stiff cocktail after witnessing that.
Make it a double, honestly.
And we also have to give a massive shout out to Ciara in the background of that scene. Did you notice what she was doing while Mia was getting this reading?
Yes, I loved this so much. She was sitting off to the side, quietly and diligently taking furious notes on her phone app so Mia wouldn't forget anything Tiffany said.
Exactly. That is the definition of an intentional, deeply caring, emotionally intelligent friend. She wasn't making it about herself. She wasn't bored. She was actively serving her friend's healing process.
Which is just so beautiful.
It really highlights the stark contrast between her high-level character and West's basement-level character even more.
Completely. It is night and day. And that psychic reading had a massive ripple effect on the rest of the episode.
It did.
Tiffany explicitly tells Mia that she needs to make a major life change, which we all know is psychic code for look at your current relationship with Scott and realize you are driving down a dead-end street.
Time to merge lanes, Mia.
But Mia isn't the only cast member having a massive relationship revelation this episode. We have to talk about what happened back at the share house, because the dynamics of the boys' weekend were incredibly revealing.
Let's set the stage here. Amanda officially bails on the Hamptons weekend. She calls Kyle from the city and claims she's on the struggle bus, and that the mere idea of coming out to the house and dealing with the social dynamics is entirely overwhelming.
Which, sure, valid.
So by default, the house essentially becomes a chaotic boys' club, plus Mia, Ciara, and Dara. And honestly, the entire energetic frequency of the house shifted completely the moment Amanda stayed home.
You felt so much lighter.
First of all, we have to give a sarcastic yet weirdly genuine shout out to Carl Radke.
Right. Carl aggressively cleaning that kitchen was everything I never knew I needed.
It really highlights the absurdity of reality television when we are actively celebrating a grown man for performing bare minimum adulting.
True. The bar is in hell.
While every other man in that house is literally rotting in their beds, nursing debilitating hangovers, and refusing to function, Carl is up. He is wiping down sticky countertops with antibacterial spray. He is ordering bagels and bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches for the entire house.
Oh, don't forget the fly.
Oh my God, yes. He executes a highly athletic butch maneuver where he kills a fly midair with a snap kitchen towel. It was arguably the most competent, domestically useful we have ever seen a man behave on this network.
I rewatched The Fly Swat 3 times. It was mesmerizing.
But Carl's domestic bliss aside, the real psychological story of this weekend is Kyle.
Kyle's solo confessional. Bestie, my jaw physically unhinged and dropped to the floor.
Dang.
He is sitting in the chair, smiling this relaxed, genuine smile, admitting that for the first time in a very long time, he is actually having fun. He says he feels lighthearted, he feels like his old self, all specifically because his wife is nowhere to be seen. He literally calls it a rude awakening and realizes how fully, fundamentally, completely effed their marriage really is.
Which is a devastating thing to admit on national television.
Yeah.
But from an observational standpoint, it is entirely true. When Amanda's in that house, she functions as an anchor. And I do not mean that in a stabilizing, positive way.
No, she drags them down.
She drags the collective energy down into the mud. She sulks. She complains. She is constantly policing Kyle's behavior. But her absence this weekend also begs a massive tactical question.
Ooh, what is the tactical question?
If we use the metaphor of reality TV as a battlefield, Amanda's retreat from the Hamptons wasn't just a simple sick day. It was a tactical, geopolitical withdrawal.
A tactical withdrawal.
Did she know the social environment was getting entirely too messy with West? Did she realize she couldn't maintain her facade of innocence while looking Ciara in the eye all weekend, so she physically removed herself from the blast radius?
Oh, I totally think it was a calculated withdrawal. She removed herself from the blast radius so she could maintain plausible deniability when the bomb eventually goes off. She couldn't handle the heat.
She definitely ran.
But before we get too dark on the rotting corpse of their marriage, we have to pivot and talk about the only pure, uncorrupted thing left in this entire cursed house. KJ and Dara.
The seventh grade romance. It is so intensely pure and wholesome, it almost feels like a broadcasting error. Like it belongs on a completely different, family-friendly network.
He literally asked her to be his official girlfriend by passing her a crumpled up piece of notebook paper with yes and no checkboxes drawn on it.
So cute.
It is so overwhelmingly cute I can barely stand to look at it. But of course, the purity cannot last in this environment. Mia and Ciara decide they need to sit KJ down for a little impromptu intervention on the patio.
They could not just let him be happy.
They very seriously warn him that he's moving way too fast, that he needs to keep his guard up, and that he shouldn't rush into giving his heart away. And look, I am going to passionately defend the girls here.
Really? Defend it then.
I am. They are fiercely looking out for him. They have both been put through the absolute ringer by manipulative men who overpromise in the beginning and massively underdeliver in the end. They love KJ, and they are projecting their own deep-seated traumas onto him because they are terrified of seeing their friend get hurt.
I get that.
Plus, as many people pointed out online, there's a highly nuanced cultural layer happening here. This is about giving protective advice to a Black man navigating a new interracial relationship in this very specific, historically white, highly scrutinized Hamptons environment. They are circling the wagons to protect their brother.
I hear that, and the cultural context is completely valid and necessary to acknowledge. However, I am going to push back on their execution a little bit.
Push back. Tell me.
KJ is a fully grown, emotionally intelligent adult man. He finally found a woman he really genuinely connects with, and he is actively doing the hard work to unlearn his own defensive habits. In his confessional, he specifically says he doesn't want to ruin a potentially great thing by keeping his walls artificially high.
That is very mature of him.
Right. I think Mia and Ciara, as fiercely well-intentioned and loving as they were in that moment, were unconsciously projecting their own current romantic misery onto the only genuinely happy, highly functioning couple in the entire house.
Right.
Sometimes when you are healing, you just have to let people be happy without forcefully inserting your own trauma into their narrative arc.
That is a completely fair point. Misery absolutely loves company, even when it's well-intentioned company.
It always sneaks in.
And speaking of the absolute pinnacle of misery, we have to transition to the Dunkin' Donuts coffee chat.
The coffee chat, the beach walk, the absolute emotional terrorism of it all.
Ciara and Wes walk down to get iced coffees by the water, and Ciara, showing incredible bravery, finally unpacks the heavy baggage of the last 2 years. She confronts him about and did interviews completely diminishing the reality of their relationship, effectively leaving her looking humiliated and foolish in public.
Which is just so incredibly cruel.
She lays all her cards on the table. And what does Wes do in response? He deploys arguably the most manipulative, highly calculated line of the entire season.
Real line.
He looks deeply into her eyes, actively references the exact speech Amanda gave her earlier in the bedroom, and softly says, "I see you more."
I almost threw my glass of water at the screen. It was a fed line. You could practically hear the rusted gears turning in his head.
It was so rehearsed.
He knew exactly what she desperately needed to hear in that specific moment. He knew the precise emotional buzzwords that would act as a skeleton key to unlock her defenses. It is textbook predatory manipulation.
Predator is the right word.
He didn't mean a single syllable of it. He just wanted to neutralize her anger so the heat would be off his back for the rest of the filming schedule.
And the worst part is, it worked. Ciara immediately breaks down crying. She admits that she feels like she just lost her best friend and she desperately wants him back. And then they hug. I was practically screaming at my television screen. It was this lingering, overly long, agonizingly tight hug on the beach. She has her head buried in his chest. She's crying into his t-shirt. They are physically clinging to each other. It went on for so long, it honestly felt invasive to watch as a viewer.
The sensory details of that scene were undeniably cinematic.
Yeah.
But fundamentally tragic. You have the soft water lapping against the shore, the seagulls calling in the background, the overcast sky. It looked like a romance movie.
It really did.
But here is the cold, analytical truth of that entire interaction. That hug only happens because of the artificial construct of the Bravo cameras.
Wait, expand on that. What do you mean?
Ciara actually verbalizes it herself during the scene.
Yeah.
She explicitly says that this wouldn't be their situation if they didn't have cameras in their faces and fans commenting on their lives.
Oh, that's true. She did say that.
Think about it sociologically. In the real world, outside of this artificially constructed, highly pressurized share house environment, Ciara would have ghosted him permanently weeks ago. She would have blocked his phone number, restricted him on all social media platforms, told her friends he was dead to her, and literally never spoken to him again.
Oh, 100%. She would be done.
But the constant looming presence of the production cameras forces these two people to interact. It forces them to grapple with their messy past, and it forces them to find a way to peacefully coexist so they can continue to film a television show together. The cameras manufactured the pressure that forced that hug.
You are so entirely right. It's a completely unnatural environment, forcing a deeply unnatural reconciliation. And honestly, that lingering hug on the beach wasn't just a standalone bad moment. It serves as a symptom of a much larger psychological disease infecting this entire cast.
A widespread disease.
Which leads us perfectly into our 4 messy segments. We need to break down the core themes of this situation. Let's talk about the concept of situationships versus sabotage.
Okay, let's get into it.
Because when you look at West and Ciara, and you look at Kyle and Amanda, you have to ask, are these people genuinely just confused about what they want, or are they actively, consciously self-sabotaging?
Let's start with West.
Yeah.
Because the internet loves to give men the confused boy pass.
I am coming in hot with pure, unfiltered emotion on this specific topic. Wes is absolutely not confused. I am so incredibly sick of the confused, fumbling boy narrative being applied to men in their late 20s and 30s.
It is so tired.
He knew exactly what he was doing from day one. He actively weaponized Ciara's vulnerability against her. He saw a staggeringly beautiful, highly guarded woman, and his ego saw her boundaries as a personal challenge.
Bingo.
He wanted to see if he was charming enough to break down her walls. Once he successfully got inside, the thrill of the hunt was over. He got bored, or he got scared of actual intimacy, or probably a toxic combination of both, and he consciously sabotaged the entire relationship by aggressively making out with a random girl right in front of her.
Yeah.
That is not confusion. That is calculated, active sabotage.
I agree that it constitutes sabotage, but I think it is symptomatic of a very specific pattern of a modern fuckboy. If you look at the deep dive analysis happening on Reddit right now, the fans clocked his methodology perfectly.
Reddit always knows.
Men like West swoop in precisely during times of vulnerability. That is the environment where they thrive. They find a microscopic crack in your emotional armor, and they fill that crack with false promises and intense unearned affection. It creates a trauma bond.
It is so manipulative.
But while we are analyzing sabotage, we absolutely have to turn the lens onto Amanda. Is she sabotaging her own marriage? Or is Kyle's behavior pushing her away?
Honestly, I think Amanda checked out of that marriage 3 business years ago.
She is entirely fundamentally checked out. But look at her behavioral patterns throughout this entire summer. She has been lightly, constantly flirting with almost every single available guy in the house.
I have noticed that.
The internet investigators have formulated a very strong, highly plausible theory that she originally had her sights set on Ben. Remember the bizarre skinny dipping incident earlier in the season?
Oh my God, yes.
The theory is she wanted to initiate something with Ben, but Ben, either being a decent guy or just oblivious, didn't bite. The timing was wrong. So, needing male validation, she immediately pivoted her attention to West.
Wow, just bouncing from guy to guy.
She is actively sabotaging her marriage by seeking emotional and physical validation everywhere except from her husband, while Kyle is simultaneously sabotaging the marriage by actively, joyfully celebrating her absence on camera. They are both grabbing sledgehammers and rotting the foundation of their life together.
It is so deeply toxic. It really makes you evaluate who is actually thriving in this environment and who is drowning. Which brings us to segment 2, main character energy check.
Ooh, my favorite. Let's do the vibe check.
If we're deciding who is actually owning the summer, who is giving crew main character energy, and who is an absolute disaster snark squad, I am loudly, proudly, and aggressively declaring that Mia is the undeniable MVP of the summer.
Oh, that is a fascinating pick. Defend your thesis. Why Mia?
Because Mia is having a genuine breakout star moment. Her natural charisma is completely off the charts this season. But beyond that, the way she handled that intense vulnerability with the psychic medium,
Is very bright.
willingly sharing that deeply personal, raw grief about her mother on national television, that takes immense guts and authenticity. But she perfectly balances it because she also doesn't take herself too seriously.
That is true.
She is an incredibly, fiercely loyal friend to Ciara. She calls out bad behavior exactly as she sees it. And crucially, she is actively in the process of realizing she deserves so much better than a boyfriend who treats her like a weekend afterthought. She is giving us a complete, compelling main character growth arc.
I respect the argument for Mia.
Yeah.
She's compelling television, but for me, the undeniable MVP of the summer is KJ.
KJ, the 7th grader.
Yes. Hear me out on this. KJ might actually be the only emotionally healthy, fully regulated male to ever grace a Bravo network broadcast.
Okay, that is a bold claim.
Think about his actions. He likes a girl. Instead of playing games, he directly communicates his feelings. He passes her a deeply charming, self-aware note.
The note was iconic.
When the older women in the house pull him aside to give him critical feedback, he doesn't get defensive. He actively listens and absorbs their perspective. And most importantly, he is actively, consciously trying to dismantle his own defensive walls. He is a shining beacon of healthy masculinity, completely adrift in a turbulent sea of toxic Peter Pans.
Okay, I genuinely cannot argue with that logic. KJ is an unproblematic king. But if they are the MVPs, who is spiraling the hardest? Who is the biggest psychological disaster of the weekend?
Oh, there are so many options.
For me, it has to be West. The sheer desperation of his attempts to save his collapsing reputation is painful to watch. Going to the dog charity event specifically just to leverage puppies to look like a good guy.
So transparent.
Feeding Ciara manipulated recycled lines on the beach just to temporarily get the internet to stop hating him. He is in a total free-fall spiral because he is finally realizing that he drastically miscalculated his own popularity and charm.
West is definitively spiraling. There is no denying that. But I think the most dangerous person, the absolute biggest villain and disaster of the entire weekend is Amanda.
Oh, that is a spicy take. Walk me through that. Why is Amanda worse than Wes?
Because West is, at the end of the day, just a standard issue basic fuckboy. We have seen a million iterations of him across a dozen different reality shows. His playbook is tired and predictable.
Very predictable.
But Amanda's playing a deeply complex, highly damaging psychological game. She is actively playing both sides of the fence. She is sitting on bed, holding Ciara's hand, looking her in the eye and telling her she deserves the utmost respect, while allegedly simultaneously texting West and meticulously setting up a dynamic where she becomes his primary confidant.
She's basically a double agent.
She is fundamentally betraying a core female friendship, specifically for the thrill of male attention, all while her own marriage is publicly decomposing on camera. That isn't just bad behavior. That is profound, terrifying villain energy.
That is incredibly dark. But you are reading her for absolute filth, and I agree with every word, which moves us perfectly to segment 3, if we were in the house.
Oh, I love this game.
It makes you wonder how we would handle this environment. If we magically inserted ourselves directly into the Hamptons share house this weekend, what exactly is our role? What are we doing amidst this chaos?
Oh, I know exactly what your role is. There is no ambiguity.
I am Ciara's literal physical bodyguard. I am setting up a metal folding chair directly outside her bedroom door. I am physically aggressively blocking West from crossing the threshold.
I bounce her at a club.
If he even attempts to speak to her in a hallway, I am blowing an industrial air horn directly into his face to disrupt his thought process.
An air horn. I am dead.
I am actively confiscating his mango White Claws, and I am throwing them one by one directly into the deep end of the pool. I am choosing absolute, unhinged violence on behalf of my friend's peace of mind.
And honestly, you would make for excellent Emmy-winning television. I, on the other hand, am taking a completely different approach. I am avoiding the central blast zone entirely.
What are you doing then?
I am sitting quietly in the darkest corner of the living room, right next to Levi's forgotten, creepy cardboard cutout. I have a leather-bound moleskin notebook. I am taking hyper-detailed anthropological notes on everyone's erratic behavior.
Of course you have moleskin.
I am silently judging the fact that they leave the communal kitchen looking like a disaster zone. And honestly, I am probably just gossiping in the corner with Sabrina about her deeply terrifying, wildly inappropriate handjob dreams, because I thrive on the bizarre, unsettling side plots.
Sabrina gives off the most terrifying, chaotic energy of anyone in that house. Why is she constantly calling the house phone from the city just to inform people about her explicit subconscious visions?
She's an agent of chaos.
You and Sabrina huddled in a corner taking notes is literally my sleep paralysis demon.
We would function as the Greek chorus of the house. We would just calmly narrate the inevitable downfall of everyone around us.
I deeply love that for you. Okay, before we wrap up, we have to hit segment 4, Snark Squad Theories. We need to dive into the absolute darkest, most unhinged fan theories floating around right now because the internet sleuths have been doing the FBI's work this week.
They really have been clocking in.
We have to talk about the Miami timeline.
The timeline that has the entire fandom ablaze. Let's map this out clearly for anyone who isn't chronically online.
Yeah.
So Jesse Solomon recently goes on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, the late-night talk show where Bravo cast members are historically terrible at hiding their secrets.
They always crack under the pressure.
Always. And the internet body language experts immediately clocked Jesse's physical reactions and his verbal fumbling when Andy specifically asked him about the timeline of Amanda and West's alleged connection.
And he lied. He completely fumbled the bag on live television.
Allegedly, yes. Jesse claimed he was just bad with dates and couldn't remember when things happened. But the prevailing theory, and there are literal time-stamped receipts and photographs floating around forums to back this up, is that Jesse, Kyle, Amanda, and West were all in Miami together back in February.
In February, the timing is everything.
And allegedly, during this trip, Amanda and West were purposefully hanging out separately from the main group. They were supposedly having intimate brunches together away from Kyle. Jesse tried to cover for West on the show, claiming West lied to his face about the timeline. But Jesse is not an innocent bystander here. He absolutely knows the exact chronology of events.
I am so heated about this specific detail. I fully 100% believe the Miami overlap theory. Listen to me, you do not just organically, accidentally end up hanging out separately one-on-one with your best friend's sort of ex in a city like Miami without it being inherently weird and intentional.
It does not happen by accident.
Jesse is completely covering for his boys. It is the classic toxic brotherhood dynamic. The bros stick together and cover each other's tracks, even when the bros are dead wrong and actively destroying people's lives.
Well, let me play devil's advocate for a moment and introduce an even darker theory that is gaining traction, the mastermind theory. This one is bold, and it completely shifts the blame.
Oh, lay it on me. I am ready to be devastated.
The mastermind theory suggests that Amanda didn't just organically fall for West's goofy charm. It suggests a deeply calculated revenge plot.
Revenge.
Yes. The theory posits that Amanda actively wanted to hook up with Ben early in the summer to aggressively get back at Kyle for years of him being a terrible, unsupportive husband. She tries to initiate something with Ben during the skinny dipping incident.
Right, the weird skinny dipping moment.
Ben, either being a decent guy or just not interested in the mess, rejects the advance or deflects it. So Amanda, desperately needing male validation and wanting a weapon to punish Kyle, scans the house and uses West as a convenient, easily manipulated backup plan.
Oh my God, my jaw is on the floor.
Wait, it actually gets deeper and more cynical. There is a counter theory to the mastermind theory that suggests West is actually the mastermind.
West, the mastermind.
The idea is that West realized, midway through the summer, that the audience was eventually going to turn on him for how cruelly he treated Ciara. He realized that without his romance with Ciara, he had absolutely zero compelling storyline to secure his contract for next season.
Which is true, he brings nothing else.
So in a panic, he intentionally targets Amanda, the most emotionally vulnerable woman in a rapidly failing marriage, specifically to secure his spot on the cast and guarantee screen time.
My brain is physically exploding. Do you genuinely think West is intelligent and strategic enough to orchestrate a multi-layered storyline like that? He seems entirely too goofy to pull that off.
I think desperation breeds a very specific, highly focused kind of cunning. You want that Bravo paycheck. He wants the brand deals. If his nice guy persona was failing, he needed a dramatic pivot to stay relevant.
I honestly don't know if I can give him that much credit for being a mastermind. I still lean heavily toward the theory that Amanda used him as an emotional life raft to finally escape the sinking ship of Kyle.
It is definitely the more plausible scenario.
But honestly, regardless of who manipulated who first, the outcome is exactly the same. They are both incredibly messy, they are both fundamentally in the wrong, and Ciara is the innocent collateral damage of their shared toxicity.
Which brings us perfectly full circle. The devastating collateral damage of reality television ecosystems. People's real beating hearts are used as stepping stones for contract renewals.
Whew. We made it through the madness. Snark Squad, thank you so much for surviving another chaotic, emotionally exhausting recap session with us. My heart rate is finally, slowly returning to a normal resting pace.
Barely. Please remember to share this conversation with your messiest friend, the exact friend who texts you at 2 in the morning about obscure Bravo conspiracy theories.
We all have one.
And please, rate and review us. 5 stars only, obviously, because anything less is just projecting hater energy, and we simply do not claim that vibration in this space.
Truly, let's just look back at the chaotic journey of our own recording session today. We started this whole thing fiercely demanding justice for Ciara. We trauma-dumped our most vulnerable, rock-bottom Honda Civic confessions. We celebrated the glory of heavy cream and Tuscan salmon pasta.
A truly legendary pasta.
We took a brief mental detour to a terrifying bowl of tripe on a cobblestone street in Florence, and we somehow ended up fully invested in forensically dismantling the timeline of a Miami trip we weren't even invited to, exactly as we should.
Exactly as we should.
This is the Snark side, working exactly as it was intended to work.
But before we officially let you go, I want to leave you with one final, deeply chilling thought to mull over. Something we haven't even explicitly touched on yet, but that haunts the edges of this entire episode.
Ooh, what is it?
Think about the production team. Think about the editors sitting in the dark, editing bays, months after this was filmed, cutting this specific episode together. If the producers knew about West and Amanda's off-camera antics in Miami while they were editing this Hamptons footage, look very closely at the specific edit Amanda received this week.
Oh, wow.
Look at the lingering dramatic zooms on the hugs. Look at the inclusion of the hypocritical "I see you" speech. Are the producers intentionally setting Amanda up for a massive, catastrophic villain edit next season? Or, conversely, are they trying to protect her by laying the psychological groundwork to prove that Kyle's awful behavior pushed her to do it?
Oh my God, you just gave me full-body chills. The editors are the real masterminds.
Watch the edits, Snark Squad. Watch them like a hawk. Because the truth on reality television is always found in what they explicitly choose to show you, and far more importantly, the truth lives in what they actively choose to hide.
I am going to be obsessively thinking about that specific theory all night. We love you, babes.
Stay shady,
Stay iconic.
and we'll see you on the Snark side.